Well, hello again to all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching. John and Ellie back at you with a special live examination of Carlsberg Elephant. And joining me this evening is Eric Fraunfelter, Thomas Metal 75 of Massachusetts Beer Reviews. So thanks for joining me, Eric.
Labels out. Thank you for having me. Carlsberg, we weren't able, John, I don't think was able to find readily available, just plain old Carlsberg. So we're going to do the Elephant, which I guess if you ask Beer Advocate and most on the internet, it's being considered a European strong lager. And I was trying to find out through BJCP, which are the Beer Judging Certification Guidelines, what they might call this, and they might agree with Louisiana Beer Reviews, Jay Terrio, and they would probably put this in the category of Helles Bock.
Right. Yes, it actually on their website, they call this a Bock beer. It was introduced in 1959, 7.2% alcohol, brewed in Denmark, and it does say that it has a vinous-rich character with apple, melon, banana, caramel, balanced with a dry bitterness and hints of oak, bark, nuts, and pine needles. The color is pale gold with white foam. So yeah, there's a lot of information on the website, and that's a very long and interesting description of the product on their website. So I've had this before. I know you've had this before.
I think I've literally had Carlsberg Elephant once in my life. I am much more accustomed to Carlsberg, the plain original lager. So reviewing this is a good opportunity to refresh my memory.
Very nice. So yeah,
just these two, just the Carlsberg and Carlsberg Elephant in the United States. Oh, they make tons of different things. They even make a barley wine.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Jacobson, which is one of the higher ABV beers in the world.
So I will let you lead off with the description of the color and go ahead and get the aroma, and then we'll start getting into this beer.
Okay, I have this in one of these Teku glasses you've probably seen if you watch me do some beer reviews. I got it in some light, and there's kind of, I'm noticing a haze about it. It's not completely opaque and see through. Yeah, there's definitely a haze to this beer. It's coming in at a light orangey amber kind of a color with a, what would you call that? Just a off-white rim of head around the glass. And at 7.2, I'm getting slight alcohol legs. Not a bunch of carbonation I'm seeing going up and down the glass, but if I look hard enough through the haze, I can kind of see a little bit. What are you getting out of the nose? Because the nose, the first word that's coming to my mind is pungent, and not in an alcohol way.
It's definitely a pretty strong aroma. I don't know if you mentioned this, but there are a lot of bubbles going up the glass on mine.
Mine might be a little bit carbonated. To be completely honest. Maybe that's what I'm getting.
You're definitely picking up the barley malt. That's the first thing. The nice, rich barley malt component to the aroma. A nice little yeastiness, breadiness.
Yep.
Maybe a little grassiness in there as well that you get with a lot of the European lagers, which is probably coming from the hop varieties that they're using.
I was just going to mention something about hops, but that tied in nicely with those hops. Yep.
It smells really good. And Gabriel is in the chat. He says hello. So hello, Gabriel.
Hola, ¿cómo estás, Estados Unidos? Puedo ir al baño, por favor?
All right. So yeah, it's been a while since I've had it. It's been a while since you've had it. Excited to get into it. So cheers. Let's see what we've got
here. And as you're cheersing it, I was also noticing in the nose that I'm getting some It's like there's like a honey kind of a like sweetness quality, and I'm also getting that appley kind of a note. Hopefully that's not diacetyl or the DMS or whichever one that gives it a green apple flavor that's supposed to be an off brewing flavor. But sometimes in lager beers, some of these off brewing flavors can kind of be forgiven because they actually attribute to lagering beer type flavors. But that taste,
Right.
what are you experiencing there?
Well, you can go ahead and lead off since you are the guest here on my show this evening. But the apple thing, real quick, it actually mentions that on the website as a flavor that you get with this beer. So they want you to pick up apple, I guess, with this beer. They mention it right there on the website. So
Yeah, enjoy together with spicy dishes and heavy food, such as yellow peas. That's a spicy and heavy food. Roasted duck or fried eel. Yeah, fried eel. Who's buying that in the United States? I don't think that's a United States description.
yeah,
But I'm looking at the Helles Bach on the beer judging certification program guidelines from 2015, and they say for the Helles Bach, moderately to moderately strong, grainy sweet malt flavors dominate with some toasty notes and or may have and or a okay, little to no caramel flavors, may have a light DMS flavor. Okay, that's exactly what I was looking for. That's got to be that green apple kind of a flavor. But anyways, grainy is a good word to use for that. Definitely getting some light, oily sweetness to it. Definitely a medium mouth feel. It's just slightly chewy, which is kind of why I'm smacking my lips there. It is definitely has that DMS lightly appley kind of a note to it. They say it should have no caramel flavor, but I'm picking up the lightest hint of caramel and toffee in there for me. Maybe a little bit of a toasty malt in there. Carlsberg products, and this one does have it, I'm noticing, kind of have a Pilsner crackery element to it, while this one is driven by these toasty, bready malts up front, giving you all that sweetness. I'm still getting that in the background, but it's a big punch of malts and some nutty appley notes from my taste. Maybe even some of the sweetness, like I said, in the nose is some honey notes in there too.
yeah. So Lee King is watching. She says, "Hey, I'm sorry, I just came in. What are you guys drinking?" Well, Lee, we are drinking the Carlsberg Elephant this evening.
A beer that nobody in the YouTube beer community wants to take with any seriousness for some reason. I don't know. I might be getting a little bit of a skunky flavor to it on mine, to be completely honest. But it's for me, it's so light that it's not really detracting any more than what I'm drinking. If that's detracting, then don't drink
Right.
this beer. But what's going on in your glass, your taste buds?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give my description. Before I do, though, one quick question. Are you picking up on any alcohol with the 7.2%?
I don't know if I'm picking up on a bunch of alcohol as much as similar to American style malt liquors. You're getting a big malt, sweet forward taste to it. So that's sort of where the alcohol is lying in my taste buds, but there's only a little tiny hint in the back when it dries that I get some of that 7.2. But again, if I were just to plainly answer with yes or no, am I getting the alcohol? Not really. No.
Okay. Yeah, me neither. That's one of the first things that kind of stuck out for me because 7.2% is getting up there, and there's really not too much, too many ingredients with this beer. It's a pretty standard beer as far as the brewing process. So the fact that I'm not picking up on any alcohol, I think that's an indication of quality because, like you said, with the malt liquors, I mean, when you get, into the high gravity malt liquors, the American made, American adjunct lagers, your high gravity malt liquors, you pick up on the alcohol. And a lot of times those products can be cloyingly sweet and a little too boozy for your average beer drinker. But with this one, you definitely don't get any of the alcohol. It's definitely very bready. You pick up a little bit of like a roasted barley malt. I think you mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's got a nice little grassy thing going on in the finish with that you get with a lot of European style lagers. You get that with this one. It is a pretty dry finish. It's definitely crisp. It is pretty light bodied as well for 7.2%. I mean, you could get into a lot of trouble with this one, I think, because if you're
Easily.
just drinking it, you would think it's, maybe just a standard European lager. I mean, I would never guess that this was a 7.2% product.
Gabriel Salaya, I'm on your favorite website. It's the Total Wine and More. Carlsberg Elephant, I believe you've mentioned it before, but it is available at your local Arizona wines or a Total Wine and More. And they describe it simply, they say a little bit, but they use some keywords here. They say crisp, clean, grainy, alcohol, light bodied. Now, yeah, it's 7.2%, but we're not picking up a giant amount of alcohol, but crisp, clean, grainy, light bodied, that's accurate, I'd say. Total
Yeah.
Wine.
Yeah, Gabriel says that his Total Wine has this beer, but he's never had it. Definitely check it out, Gabriel. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a really good beer.
I think malt liquor fans of the United States would have only if your bottle was way more skunked than mine and it tasted like the south end of a wayward skunk. Maybe this would be bad, but I can't imagine why. Besides, it's not in a giant bottle, right? Why a malt liquor fan from the United States or Canada wouldn't like Carlsberg Elephant. It does. I think it's even less sweet than some of the lower ABV, lower than 7.2 ABV malt liquors out there in the United States. So that's a plus. That's a big plus.
Absolutely, yeah. You get a lot of sweetness with your standard malt liquors. Your like even your Mickey's, which is really enjoyable. That's a little bit more malt forward and sweet, and of course the alcohol is a lot less with that. But this one is very balanced. It's got a nice malt forward sweetness, but it's got that grassy hot bite at the back end to balance it out really nicely. And the carbonation is really on the medium side with it. It's nice and crisp, and I'm really enjoying mine. So
I go back to BJCP, which is Beer Judging Certification Program. It's their guidelines from 2015. I forget how often, maybe 3 or 4 years, they seem to they update the guidelines. What are they talking about? They said it's the Helles Bach, which is probably what this is basically called, is also known as Maibach. There is some dispute whether Helles, which means pale Bach, and Mai, meaning Maybach, are synonymous. Most agree that they are identical, but some believe that a Maibach is a fest type of a beer. Any fruitiness is due to Munich or other specialty malts, not yeast-derived esters developed during the fermentation. So I guess that kind of makes sense that this is definitely more of a malt sweetness and a malt forward driven kind of a brew. So you have to like those things first and foremost. And they also say that typically the base is of Pils and or Vienna malt with some Munich malt to add character. No non-malt adjuncts. All right, clean lager yeast is what you should be getting also in this style of beer. So if we're looking at BJCP certification program guidelines and you just heard what you heard, do you think that this could fit into their category of a Helles Bach?
yeah, I mean, I do. I think it pretty much fits that description perfectly. It is malt forward, but it does have, like I said before, it does have that nice little hot bite to balance it out. And we've got Craig Swinson watching. He says, tonight I'm taking the night off from drinking only having about 17 Genesee lights. Light beers don't count. Haha.
Holy crap! All right, you win. Good
All
sir.
right, Craig. Well, cheers. Enjoy that Jenny Light.
I just found a store in my town where I get the Schlitz. That actually now, and I may have to buy one just to buy one. They now have 6-packs of Genesee Ice, which I'll never buy, and the Genesee Light. So maybe that'll give me an excuse to try the Light and to try the Genesee without having to just buy 30 of them at once.
Yeah, that's nice because I can only get the 30 packs in my area. I used to be able to buy the 24-ounce can singles of all of the Genesee products, but unfortunately, I don't see those anymore. So, and like you, I'm not typically gonna go out and buy 30 packs of beer. So I won't be drinking as much Genesee as I used to. But
Correct.
yeah, I wish they would at least come back with the Genesee Cream Ale 6-pack so I could get back into that a little bit.
Far in between where I can find 6-packs of that, but when I do, you bet your ass I'll buy that. Which is again not that often I find 6-packs of that particular beer. But I like I guess there's a little bit of alcohol legs that are causing some lacing to form. I don't think the lacing would form on its own without 7.2 like that. Is what I'm getting at. So for my particular bottle, it's kind of getting a tiny bit skunked at the end, which is also contributing to almost not like a true sour ale is what I mean, but as it's finishing, it's dry, but it's giving me a light like sour acidic note as it dries, and I guess that could be from some sweetness. There's just a hint of 7.2 in the end when it dries, and it will leave you with a little bit heftier of a feeling mouthfeel to it. So the only thing that I'm not, for me personally, that I'm really not caring for before I'll let you take over again, is there's that little bit of that skunky thing in the background. Not so fond of that. Could just be my bottle. And like with some of these American malt liquors, this one I think is better than those. However, it's still a little, it's borderline cloying on the sweetness, but it's not enough where it's gonna cause me to drain pour this beer for sure. But it is on the sweeter side than I normally tend to drink. But you got to figure at 7.2, there's got to be some amount of malt in there to cause the fermentation process to happen where it converts the malt into the fermentable sugars that the yeast is eating to create the 7.2%.
Right. We've got the Phil and Greg show tuning in. Says, hey, light beer is diet beer. There you go. Phil and Greg show.
Love tonight. What the heck?
The Phil and Greg show is they have a really cool channel. They do some beer reviews, so go check them out if you haven't already. To all the viewers out there who may not know who the Phil and Greg show channel, what they do, go check them out. They put out good content. So I'm really enjoying this beer. I'm thinking about a rating here, but I'm gonna let you go first with your rating and final thoughts of the Carlsberg Elephant.
I think I have a rating on Beer Advocate possibly, but screw that. I don't even think I do. I think an 82 is just way too low for this. I am not. Wow. It's like an 85 is kind of screaming to me as that's probably the number for those reasonings I mentioned. I'm getting a little bit of that southbound and south end of a skunk, just a little bit. It's not too much to dominate the program. And then the sweetness for me could be diminished a little bit, and maybe more hops would take over and star the show. So for those two reasonings alone, so if anybody would like to see a product like that, where there's less sweetness and maybe less of a chance of skunking because, and, you know, it's in a green bottle too, but you can get both of the products in cans, is original Carlsberg. So if you like the description I just gave and you want it a little different, Carlsberg Original is going to do those things, I think, for you a little bit more. I think that's a little bit more enjoyable for me just because it's a little bit more crisp and enjoyable. And I actually find, to be completely honest, even though this is more of a malt liquor, that I get much more of those crackery, bready Pilsner malts that are able to shine through rather than just to get shoved in there for the purpose of bumping up the beer to that 7.2. But honestly, you could kill the crap out of this and not even realize you did until 30 minutes later.
Right.
So,
So an
85, right?
85, that's a
Oh, I guess that's a B plus. It's a low B plus.
okay. I'm going to go a little bit higher, but of course, I like these style beers a little bit more than you do. I think it's definitely excellent for the style. And I'm going to go with a solid A for me. Elephant. It's getting up there close to world class for the style. It is super well balanced, with especially with the 7.2 alcohol being masked very well. I like the regular Carlsberg, but unfortunately, it's not very popular here. The Carlsberg Elephant is everywhere. The Carlsberg, not so easy to come by, unfortunately. So 96 out of 100. It's a winner. Unfortunately, I'm not getting any of those skunky qualities that you mentioned with the green bottle. Sometimes you have to watch out for that, but I'm not getting. So I guess we'll read some final comments, and then I'll let you give, if you have some upcoming content that's coming out on your channel, you can go ahead and mention what you've got upcoming on your channel, and then we'll go ahead and close it out.
Okay.
So Craig Swenson says, what is the one style of beer that you two, John and Eric, really dislike? You must pick one. Okay.
That I dislike. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of Goza style beers. Now, John Anile is like the absolute opposite of me. Anything other than Goza style beers that I'm not really a huge fan of? That's a really great question. But what's your thoughts right now with that question?
Goodness, there's really not one style that I certain beers within styles.
Yeah.
That I like. I guess
You're breaking up, son.
had to. Let's see. I guess maybe like a triple IPA, like one of those super bitter, not very well balanced IPAs. That would be one for me that I don't really like, but I do like the style still. There are some that I like, but that would be one that is on the low end for me.
You know what?
For enjoyability.
I say Gozas, but one that I usually try to avoid is, I don't know what, I don't want to call them winter warmers, but you can get these winter seasonal beers that are like so spicy from the spice rack that basically just tastes like a plum pudding or a fruit cake. Not pass. Yeah. I don't want nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon, and a partridge in a pear tree inside of my glass. Thank you very much. I will say the spicy winter seasonal beer is probably even worse than a Goza for me. But a Goza, somebody said it. We were doing Gozas on, I think it was Tyler Mansell's channel, and it could have even been Jay Terrio that said it, or Michael Komaroff, I forget. somebody brought up the point that it kind of had a Gatorade, salty Gatorade kind of a taste, and I can honestly understand how somebody could come up with Gatorade on that, or some kind of like a sports drink, limey kind of a thing about that. Interesting stuff there, but yeah, basically drinking a spiced fruit cake in the middle of the winter time is one I do not seek out. No.
Right. Or you start getting into all these flavors and these seasonal beers, you kind of get away from what, what a lot of people consider to be a beer. You get into all these flavored things, which kind of like, it doesn't really remind you of a beer. So in a lot of ways, I guess I'm the same way. I do like seasonal beers, but when you get into all these flavored beers where you have a lot of different stuff going on and you really don't taste the malt, hop, stuff like that, it really doesn't, it takes away from what a beer drinking experience should be. And you're almost just drinking like a spiced tea or like something other than beer. So I definitely understand what you're saying there.
Fall is interesting. Now, you can get some really absolutely well done pumpkin beers. You certainly can. Their pumpkin beers are hit and miss. When you find a good one, stick with it. But I think like the fall to me, now blame Germany for that, right? I think the fall for me is the best seasonal beers that a lot of companies make, or a lot of companies produce beers during, because most of the time they're not bullshitting you. They're traditional beer styles that just happen to be popular, that happen to be around this time of the year when they were developed for Oktoberfests and for Oktoberfests. You can't get much more traditional beer style than an Oktoberfest or a Marzen or a Vienna style lager. And if it happens to be that it coincides with the season that a brewery can put out a beer in, so be it. That's a traditional beer. They don't have to make a Oktoberfest. You're not really BSing anybody with fancy special flavors. It's malts, hops, water, yeast. Thank you. Get rid of the raisins. Get rid of the plum pudding. I don't want no figs and twigs in my beer things.
All right. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Let us know, before we do though, let us know what's coming up on your channel of, Thomas Metal 75 Massachusetts Beer Reviews. Everybody out there that's watching, if you're not subscribed already, go subscribe to Eric's channel. He does great stuff as well. We do great examinations and he does really good beer reviews. Been doing it for a long time, so check him out. And what do you have coming up on your channel, Eric?
I believe I've started this, thanks to Jay Terrio, since 2012 on YouTube. I guess next week is already October. Holy shit. So October 3rd is a Wednesday. We do the Wednesday nights, 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time in the East Coast. And on the 3rd of October, on a Wednesday, we're going to do a silly beers. So pick a beer that's got a real silly name or what the F kind of name, and let's review it. And then the following week, which is the 10th already of October, is when we're going to do fall seasonal 2018. So bring an Oktoberfest, bring a fall beer, bring a pumpkin beer, and come to Thomas Metal 75 channel and let's discuss. That's what we got planned for the next 2 weeks.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I'll read some final comments and then we'll close it out. Phil and Greg shows asked if I have a P.O. box, wants to send me some local beers. Unfortunately, I don't have a P.O. box, but I can send you a private message if that's something you're interested in doing.
Holy hell yeah, buddy. Woo.
Let's see. Phil and Greg show says Sam Adams Oktoberfest best seasonal. I like so many different seasonals. I don't know if I would say it's the best, but it's definitely really good. I had one. I bought a 6-pack not too long ago, and I really enjoyed it.
I find that that's the one seasonal Sam Adams makes that does not have any variations and deviations of flavor over the years. I used to really love that Sam Summer And then I just kept finding that either my palate maybe changed or like this beer keeps tasting different every year. What are you doing? So,
All right. Craig Swinson says, thank you for answering my question. Well, thanks for watching and asking the question, Craig. We appreciate it.
while you're
It was a
still
good
watching
question.
here, Craig, at the very end of the show, why don't you text us? Why don't you chime in with what your least favorite beer style is?
All right. So Alex, the beer master, is just now tuning in or just now commenting. He may have been watching the whole time. I don't know. But he says, what's up, John? Not much. Just drinking some Carlsberg Elephant with Eric and really enjoying it. Thanks for watching.
Go.
And I guess we'll give it another minute since you asked Craig a question here.
I
And
love
then
this bottle. This bottle's got that nice embossed etching on it that says Carlsberg. It looks really, it's like a really classy looking bottle, which is what I always like about picking up these bottles. Now, this is cool. I already had Carlsberg Elephant that I bought in a mix of 6, and had an idea to do Euro Strong lagers or these Helles Bocks on my channel. Maybe we'll still do them. Maybe we'll do this one again. But I was excited because you wanted me to pick a beer for this topic, and I was like, it's got to be Carlsberg, and maybe you'll have to look for it again, and we'll find a time to get this back on Thomas Metal or on John's channel. But one of the reasons I got excited about it was I'm starting to see a ton of places sell this giant liter can of Carlsberg, and I have no reasoning to buy it, and I'm like, this would be the perfect reason to bring out that sucker. Like $2 in change for a giant liter.
I will definitely keep looking for it, and believe me, when I find it, you'll be the first one to know, and we'll examine it. All right, so let's close it out here. Craig did answer the question. You're not gonna like his answer, but here it is. New England IPAs. He hates the New England IPAs.
He doesn't. Well, maybe it's a tad wee fruity number for him.
All right. So
yes,
that's it for this special live examination of Carlsberg Elephant. Thanks again for joining, Eric. I appreciate it. And that will do it for the examination of the Carlsberg Elephant. So thanks everybody for watching live and supporting my channel, Eric's channel, all of the International Beer Review Guild people out there and the beer community. We appreciate it. So until next time, everybody, cheers.